about you is that you have ambition to be great. My job is to coach you to get all that greatness out of you.
What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. What a kind of crazy day in the National Football League, and obviously it started off with us and the canceled practice, and we'll get into all of that stuff. But man, I gotta say, as someone who was pushing for the punt god, Matt Araiza, well, no longer that. He's more like the punt god less. I regret ever pushing that agenda. I mean, that guy is a piece of shit. I mean, I don't know what else to say. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or you haven't read San Diego State punter and the guy who everyone knows I was loving, him and teammates allegedly, gang raped a 17-year-old girl, and it's ridiculous when you read like how he conducted himself, and even basically he was caught on the phone by detectives. They had her making recorded phone calls, and on one call he admitted they had sex and said she needs to get checked for sexually transmitted disease. On another one he said, "This is Matt Araiza. I don't remember anything that happened that night." So like clearly he was onto it or whatever. So yeah, that guy's a piece of trash. If all those allegations are true, everyone knows how I feel. I hope he burns. So man, that was crazy today. I don't know if everyone's seen that stuff. So just literally, I have to publicly come out here. Someone else pushing that agenda. So, I got to say publicly, I regret ever pushing that agenda. That guy is a piece of trash. So, man, wild day. Obviously, the Dolphins on top of this too. Now, I told all you guys yesterday I would check in on the Gesicki stuff, and I would check in on Waddle and all that jazz. And in checking in, basically, this is what I was told. Nothing major here. I was told Waddle is just some inflammation that they noticed, and it's on that surgically repaired ankle from last year. So it's just some minor inflammation, and they're just being super cautious with it. That's what I was told. And then in terms of Gesicki, I was given no confirmation of any legitimate trade talks or like in-depth trade discussions, or that he's actively on the trade block. I was given no indication of either of those two. So that's the information I got for y'all. So Waddle, I've heard it's just some inflammation. And then with Gesicki, I've heard they're not actively shopping him. He's not on the trade block. So we'll see. Like I said, if they're going to make a move on Gesicki, it'll happen by Tuesday when they got to cut down to 53. So, we'll go into it. Some more information came out today too from Albert Breer. So, yeah, just craziness, just overall absolute craziness. It started off wild. To be honest with you, I wasn't even like on Twitter. What actually happened was I was with my kids this morning, and like first thing in the morning, and I got a text message just about like, "Oh man, that sucks," blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "What?" And then I got another text message, and like they're vague, like no one's telling me like exactly what happened. So I got like 3 text messages about, "Oh man, did you hear what happened? That sucks after yesterday." And I'm like, "What's going on here?" So then I just hopped onto Twitter because I'm like, if no one's going to give me answers, I'm just going to get vague texts right now. So I hopped onto Twitter, and it was like the first thing I saw that it was canceled. So crazy. This day was kind of a weird day. Kind of a weird day. I don't have anything really on Needham, Robert. No. I don't think there's really anything to know. I think he's fine. So yeah, kind of a weird day. Kind of a because at the end of the day, I was like, do I go live and blah blah blah? But I had some stuff I wanted to talk about. Um, hold on, give me a sec, guys. Yeah, I was like, do we even go live? Blah, 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 blah. And, I think there's some stuff I wanted to talk about. There's actually an interesting article that came out yesterday. So if we have enough time, I'll get to it. So there is quite a bit to talk about. Yeah, so right now, hold on, let me just set this out. Yeah, I just, so here's the thing too. It also came out today about AVG and his appendix, right? And the Trey Flowers stuff. And people were asking me, what have you heard about that? And I was pretty consistent with that. I got the indication that it was because of, AVG's injury. And then it comes out today exactly what it was with the appendix and stuff. I think if they're truly panicked about Waddle, which is what makes sense when I'm told that it's nothing but inflammation. What makes sense about that being is if it was really a concern, I don't think they'd be putting him out on the field. Like if there was a serious sprain, you wouldn't have seen him even attempt to go against the Eagles, because remember, the reason why I say sprain too is because a sprain is a slight tear, right? So, but it's apparently it's just inflammation. So, the only concerning thing about it is it's the ankle that was fixed last year. So, but then I asked, like, should I literally, after I was told that, I was like, is this going to be a serious, like, reoccurring issue? Should I be concerned? And I was told no. So, and then on top of that, okay, so we have the canceled practice. And then I'm sitting there and I'm eating dinner. And Aaron Donald's out here swinging helmets in practice. And, like, not even once. This guy's out here swinging it, trying to take heads. I mean, did they think a Bengals, Rams rematch from the Super Bowl and joint practices was going to end well? It didn't. Aaron Donald out here trying to take heads, takes this man's helmet off and then starts swinging recklessly. Bro, that if Myles Garrett got what he got, Aaron, it's coming down today. Today was a bad day for the NFL. Like, let's put it in perspective. Bad things happened in threes, and three things happened today. Like Aaron Donald out there swinging for the fences with Bengals helmets and craziness. So I even showed my wife. I'm like, yo, because unless you have a very, sport intuitive wife, they don't know what to look at in practice. So I literally told her, I said, okay, watch all the helmets. And so I played it, and my daughter was like, oh, can I watch? I'm like, okay. So my daughter and my wife watched. I said, what? Just keep your eyes on the helmets. And all of a sudden they see this helmet coming up and swinging. And it was pretty crazy. It was hilarious. Yeah, and JC Treader retired. I told y'all he wasn't coming. I've been telling y'all since I dug into it months ago that JC Treader was not coming here. Everyone kept their name on the lips. I told y'all he wasn't coming. So that's why you saw me pushing the Paradis narrative, because I knew Treader wasn't coming. And then when I found out, that ain't no one coming a couple weeks ago, like I reported on Patreon, like I've told y'all up here, So, yeah, crazy day. So then we keep going. And now this Araiza story comes out, and, like, man, the NFL took that fat L today real hard. Whew. So, it does suck for us. I was told it, then I saw Barry Jackson reported it, that it was just it's basically, understood to be kind of a stomach flu bug that went around. It's not food poisoning or anything like that. So, to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever had the stomach flu. So, Jose, I'm going to tell you this about Araiza. If Watson got what he got, Araiza should never be able to play a down of football. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. If this guy forces a drunk 17-year-old girl to perform oral sex on him, then he has sex with her, then he brings her into a room, throws her down onto a bed with 3 other guys in the room, and they literally gang raped her for an hour and a half. And then and then she's made recorded phone calls that detectives were listening on. He admits to having sex with her, tells her to get checked out for sexually transmitted diseases, which makes me wonder what the hell else this guy has done. And then they get him on the phone again, and all of a sudden he's like, "Hi, this is Matt Araiza. I don't remember anything that happened that night." So obviously he was on to the game. No, Matt Araiza, if that shit is true, that guy needs to burn. That guy should never be able to play a down of football ever again if that is true. That man does not deserve millions of dollars. If that is true, that man needs to burn. You already know how I felt. I've gone over this, man. I've gone over this. Listen, I don't like frauds. I don't like cheaters. I don't like liars. But when it comes to, rapists and pedophiles, those taking women, men, and children's innocence, and I got no place in the, I got no place in the world for those type of people at all. At all. So, rapists, molesters, pedophiles, no, sir. No, sir. So, Matt Araiza should never be able to play another down of football ever again. And people, and I'm not even saying this because we're Dolphin fans. Think about this one. First of all, I had someone, okay, listen. So when I first responded to this, check this out. So let's dive into this. So you can go back and you can see my original tweet about it today. I had someone literally respond to me. I'm not even lying to y'all. I had someone literally respond to me and said, I guess they live locally in San Diego, because the person said to me, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is basically what they said. It's basically almost a quote because it was so short. And they said, damn, this story has been, going on for what feels like over a year on my local news. Just now we're figuring out who it is. So what does this tell me? This tells me that San Diego State knew about it, was covering it up. And now all of a sudden he gets to the NFL, he gets out of San Diego State, the lid comes off. And then you got to ask this. McDermott said publicly, okay? McDermott has said publicly, and the Bills have said publicly, that they did extensive research on Matt Araiza. So if they did this extensive research on Matt Araiza, all of a sudden these stories have been popping up of, guys getting in trouble, and it seems like, well, we did extensive research. How extensive was your research? So I really actually believe McDermott was recently on Pardon My Take, and he said that Buffalo Bills fans love Josh Allen and Matt Araiza out there. He's a fan favorite of the locals. So, I regret ever pushing that agenda. I mean, had I known, I would have told everyone, this guy shouldn't even be drafted, obviously. This guy should be in a jail rotting until he goes to hell to burn. So, crazy day, man. And then, obviously, cancel practice. J.C. Treader retiring. Aaron Donald throwing bombs with a helmet. Man, it was a wild day in the NFL today. It actually happened 4 times over for them today. But we still got stuff to go over. We're going to go over the canceled practice and everything. A little bit of some news and notes from McDaniel's presser. Albert Breer's mailbag mentioned Mike Gesicki. So we'll talk about that. We did that recent article from Miami Herald about 10 offensive takeaways from training camp. Well, now, guys, training camp's officially wrapped up. What a crappy way for training camp to end the way it did, because now it's done. So they've got an article in regards to 10 defensive takeaways they've got since training camp started. And then we got a really interesting article about 2 in the Miami Dolphins that the Ringer put out, more of an in-depth, piece. So I wanted to show you guys that because I think it's worth everyone's read. And I saw even Joe Shad retweet it. It didn't get a lot of traction. So maybe if we go over it, y'all will appreciate the piece a little bit more, because it talks about McDaniel, talks about everyone. It's about the dynamic of the room. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll get into all of that. All right. And then Tyreek Hill, man, he had a pretty interesting quote. He told everyone, yo, get your popcorn ready for this team this season. So yeah, we got a little bit to go over here. So let's start off with the obvious. And by the way, major W for Chris Breer for avoiding him. Also, smash that like button, subscribe if you are new. We're only about 80 some odd away from hitting 9,000, guys. So let's hit 9,000. We're only about 80 something subs away from 9,000. So let's get there, man. Let's get there by the end of the live reaction show. Let's get there, man. Smash that like button. Help me out. Help me out with my friend Algorithm. Also, if you'd like to donate to the channel, paypal.me/Phinside. Become a Phinside the NFL Patreon. Also become a YouTube channel member. I post my little updates in terms of information I get until I'm passed over on Patreon and on the community tab on YouTube for channel members only. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, and also I will have specific content for you guys coming this season as the looks and the feel and everything continues to change at Phinside the NFL. Also, big up, save 15% off at Pick 6 Apparel by using code PhinsideTheNFL.com. Sorry, Phinside the NFL at Pick6Apparel.com. Listen, I'm drinking out of this Hill mug right now. They just sent me this Miami Fins Up, personalized with a nice little Waddle and the 17. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Check them out, man. They're already well priced, and you're going to get 15% off. So go check them out, man. All right. So let's get into it after that. So it started out, the morning started off like this. The Dolphins, who canceled their joint practice with the Eagles today, are dealing with a stomach bug, sources say. Bunch of players sick, vomiting overnight. And he continued on. Some players believe it's food poisoning rather than a bug per sources, but no way to truly know at this point. The Dolphins cross-checked what players have eaten and don't see a common thread there. They're confident it's a bug, which is why they canceled today's practice to stop the spread. No concerns at this point about Sunday's game with the Eagles. And obviously this puts into play, like, is this now, is this even going to be a, that joint practice that sent everything into a confusing state of what they're probably going to do on Sunday, because those are a lot of valuable reps they lost for every string, not just 1, 2, or one the first string. Every string just lost valuable reps. So gonna be very interesting to see. And Skylar Thompson only had 4 passing reps yesterday, right? Sorry, 4 total reps. Sorry, I apologize. He handed the ball out twice. He was sacked once, and then I forget what the other one was, but he only had 4 reps. You just lost potential reps in joint practice today. So we'll see how this plays on to what the Dolphins actually end up doing on Saturday. It's going to be a very interesting dynamic, So, I mean, those are reps that Tyreek Hill, who hasn't played a preseason snap, those are reps he could have got against Darius Slay today. Right? And apparently, I don't know if you guys were paying attention. I still paid attention a little bit. Apparently, the Eagles, their defense popped off today. Their defense apparently won the day pretty handily. Hurts had a couple nice throws, but yeah, apparently it was the defense's day today. Wouldn't be surprised to see all of our starters out there Saturday, Justin says. Man, I was originally told that this was going to be the dress rehearsal. I don't even know now. Right? I don't even know. So we'll see how it plays out. But I don't even know where they're at with that now. So, yeah, really interesting dynamic this plays. Because, again, those are valuable reps, man. Joint practices mean something. Joint practices mean something. So, I don't know. We'll see. All right. Continuing on, 300 of you in the room. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Again, only 80, like 7 or 88 away from getting to 9,000. Let's get there, man. I want to get 10,000 during the season. So let's do this, baby. All right. So this is what happened today as we found out more information about Van Ginkel and why the Trey Flowers. I'm going to go again. Listen, whether Van Ginkel's healthy or not, go get Trey Flowers. Listen, I like what Ben Stilley's been doing. I like Benito Jones since we drafted him. What are you going to take? Right? And then you go on the edge depth. This guy can literally play outside linebacker, edge in our scheme. He can play defensive end. He can play the 0 tech. He can play the 3 tech. Like, this guy can play anything for us on that front. And he's only 29. Bring Trey Flowers in. Man, that's depth. That's that championship depth, man. Go get Trey Flowers. Either way. On a day that a stomach flu inside the team ended Dolphins training camp prematurely, Coach Mike McDaniel said linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel's mystery absence the past 2 days was a result of an appendix issue. He is feeling great, McDaniel said. There's significant optimism. It shouldn't affect anything in the season. He will do his best to get back as fast as possible. Per team source, Van Ginkel's appendix was removed, but it was not ruptured like Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow's was. Burrow's issue, which sidelined him for much of training camp, was thus more serious. There's a decent to good chance that Van Ginkel can play in week 1 on September 11th against visiting New England. But if you got Trey Flowers, you don't got to rush him back. I'm telling you, when you look, Trey Flowers is that depth. You bring him in. Meanwhile, cornerback Nick Needham, who left practice with a trainer on Wednesday, is day-to-day with an injury that isn't considered serious. Nothing super significant, McDaniel said. McDaniel said he expects Jalen Waddle, who's walking around fine with a lower body injury, has not had any setbacks and expected back sooner than later. Again, I've heard it's just inflammation. They noticed inflammation in the surgically repaired ankle, and they were overly cautious with it because they realized, they're not going to force that in the preseason when, that ankle, for everything he does, you need that ankle in the best shape possible. Waddle has been on the field but hasn't participated in full team drills the past 2 weeks. The Dolphins have indicated it's nothing serious. Waddle did participate in individual drills on Wednesday. McDaniel held him out of team drills, joking that he was worried Waddle would go too hard to impress former Alabama teammates on the Eagles. Before Van Ginkel returns, the Dolphins will continue on it with an outside linebacker pairing of Jalen Phillips and Melvin Ingram. I love it. I think, I already thought Melvin was going to eat into Van Ginkel's snaps. Van Ginkel, this injury could put him in an uphill battle, man, because they got to pay him too, right? This is a contract year, so Melvin Ingram, I got the feeling that guy's gonna pop off a little bit for us. I love Van Ginkel, but the problem with Van Ginkel is it's getting to a point where there's guys coming in that have the ability to stand out, so he needs to stand out when he comes back. So let's see how Van Ginkel embraces the challenge. It's going to be interesting to watch. Melvin has learned the defense, Jalen Phillips said. He's a great veteran leadership, extremely talented pass rusher, and early down stopper, honestly, too. So he's been invaluable for me and for our team, just learning from him and really just picking his brain on what it's like to be an elite pass rusher and elite edge player in the league. During the season, Van Ginkel, Phillips, and Ingram are all expected to play in a rotation, which I think, you got to get Phillips the majority of, they're going to rotate Ingram and Van Ginkel. Meanwhile, McDaniel was vague in discussing a Pro Football Focus report that the Dolphins have discussed a trade involving tight end Mike Gesicki, who continues to adjust to playing in line more and blocking more than he has in the past. Asked if Gesicki is assured to be on the roster week 1, McDaniel said, "These reports are tricky to me. During training camp and during the offseason in general, GMs have work to do and are not just watching as coach. When somebody uses that loose verbiage that his name has been brought up, the report is misleading because there should be a lot of names in that report. All I'm focused on is coaching Mike, and Mike is focused on getting better. He had a great week of practice, which tells you a lot about the individual because there has been random noise that he hasn't listened to clearly. He's putting his best foot forward. That's all I'm concerned about." Listen, and you know what? I'm actually probably going to play the clip for you so you guys can hear everything from that. Because, I maybe to add a little bit more context to it, and we'll do it after this, before we get into the next report. All right, I'll play that little piece for you guys. I'll play it for you so you can hear everything in its entirety on that question. Because his press conferences are 26 minutes long, so I wasn't going to play the whole thing, right? So I'll play that portion for you after that before we get into the next article, because the next article is regarding all of this stuff. All right, so you guys can hear exactly what he said. All right. So, on the importance of Saturday's game against the Eagles with regard to roster decisions, McDaniel said there are more than a handful of tough choices awaiting. There are jobs to be settled, not as easy as who has the most yards and the most tackles. Thursday's joint practice was canceled because several Dolphins have stomach bug symptoms. Training camp is now officially over, and the Dolphins indicated Saturday game against visiting Philadelphia at 7 p.m. remains on track to be played. And I'll be live for that, guys. And I'll be live before the game actually starts. Even with Waddle still sidelined by a lower body injury, Tua Tagovailoa likes the symbiotic relationship that's developing between the team's top receivers and the impact that should have eventually on the run game. Jalen gets Tyreek open. Tyreek gets Jalen open, Tagovailoa said. Tyreek and Jalen get everyone else open. And those all three, all four, whoever's out there, they get the running backs open. And so it opens up a lot of things for our run game, and our run game opens up a lot of things for our pass play. So everything really complements kind of that scheme that we play on football on offense. Tagovailoa was asked by Philadelphia media this week about what feels different about the season. He said, everything. This offense is different. The confidence that the guys have coming out to practice is different. The confidence that the guys have coming into the building is different. The way we do things around the building is different. Just everything. I can't necessarily point to one thing. And I think that's what's going to help make us better is make us a better team is spending more time with each other, not just in the building, but outside the building. Where the confidence was coming from, Tagovailoa said, it's the guys that are helping us get to where we want to go. And I would say it's our position coaches. It's obviously our head coach, who's probably one of the most optimistic people I've ever been around. And I would say just those guys and the kind of leadership that Mike displays for everyone to see. I think that's what gives the entirety of the team confidence. So, yeah, I mean, stomach flu bug is basically what I heard. I'm gonna play McDaniel's presser for you guys, so you can like the little portion of it, so you can see what he said. But again, nothing major there. AVG with the appendix, man, wishing him a speedy recovery. Thank God it didn't burst. Thank God it's not worse. So hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. For you guys to see exactly what McDaniel actually did say. Let me play that for you guys. Here is Mike McDaniel on the Gesicki trade rumors.
There was a report earlier this week that Mike Gesicki's name has come up in trade conversations. Is that report accurate? Is Mike Gesicki assured to be on this roster week one?
I mean, these reports are tricky to me because I'm like, again, I've alluded to this before at the beginning of the offseason. Like, during the training camp, during the off season in general, like GMs have work to do, and they're not just watching us coach. So when people report that somebody is, when they use that loose verbiage of, all right, well, yeah, his name's been brought up or whatever. I mean, the report is kind of misleading because like there probably should be a lot of names on that report. All I'm focused on, and that's, regardless of what people try to drum up, like I'm focused on coaching Mike. Mike's focused on getting better. And, people have made stuff about this, that, or the other. Like, whether you're a receiver or a tight end, or we even have running backs do it, you have to be able to do stuff with the ball, and you have to be able to block for other people that are doing stuff for the ball. And we continue to work those techniques with everyone. He had a great week of practice this week, which tells you a lot about that individual, because there has been random noise that hasn't listened to clearly. He's putting his best foot forward, and that's all I'm concerned about. And it's my job to coach the players on the team, and I like coaching Mike. And beyond that, like it's kind of a I don't know, a no ends process about talking about, did someone talk about somebody else with, that stuff happens more often than it doesn't.
So that's what Mike McDaniel had to say. I mean, I appreciate the honesty. I also appreciate the fact that he didn't deny it. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, he didn't deny it. Tryhard says, if we were to trade Gesicki, I would like a solid young cornerback in return to take over Byron's spot next year. Also bring Jared Cook from free agency. Hey man, if we could get a young corner, a young studly corner, or we could get a solid, offensive lineman, whether that's, a guard or a left guard or a center, preferably a center, though I know they won't. That would be ideal. But yeah, a young corner. I mean, you look at a team like Carolina, they're loaded at corner. They're absolutely loaded at corner. So, yeah, because remember, before we got our draft pick taken away, I really wanted, I really wanted Keely Ringo out of Georgia. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Mike didn't deny it, but you got to appreciate that he was actually honest with us. Right? I got to appreciate that. So, and the reason why I wanted to show that to segue into Albert Breer, who does the Monday morning quarterback for Sports Illustrated, he did his mailbag today. And in his mailbag, there is a portion where someone asked a question about Mike Gesicki. So Manuel asked, Gesicki has been struggling mightily with blocking in McDaniel's new scheme, which seems to have hold on a sec. Let me get to there, my bad. Which seems to have rendered him expendable. Which team would be a good fit for him, and what can Miami realistically get for him in a trade? So this is what Albert Breer said. He said, Manuel, I wouldn't buy into the idea that Mike Gesicki is on the block. The Dolphins haven't shopped him at all. What they are trying to do is develop him as a blocker. Tight ends coach John Embry used the offseason to drill Gesicki on what he needed from him in the run game. That meant a lot of drill work through the spring and some work. It meant studying George Kittle, who played for Embry as a 49er and turned himself into a great blocker in the pros, and how he started a long way from that as a rookie. They put a lot of work into getting Gesicki where he needs to be as a true Y tight end in this offense. And I think they're going forward with him as a key piece. After that, we'll see what happens. I would say that for Gesicki to earn a deal from the Dolphins near what Mark Andrews or Dallas Goedert got, which is the $14 million average per year, or what Kittle or Travis Kelce received, he'll need to become a more complete player. And the truth is, up until now, he's been more of an oversized receiver than a total tight end. So there you go. I mean, literally backing up what Hal Habib and David Furones said yesterday, that, they got denials from sources. When I checked in with people, I couldn't get confirmation that he was even on the block, let alone that, we were in deep trade discussions with Mike Gesicki with any team. So, yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, we will know by next Tuesday. If they cut down to 53 and he's still on the roster and this team becomes the winning team we want it to become, they're not going to move off of him until they have to deal with that in the offseason. So I don't know, man. I think Gesicki makes this team. I've said since McDaniel got here, if he can become a competent blocker, I'm super intrigued with what he can do in this offense. Like, it's super, super intriguing. You know what I mean? Like, he offers you a lot as a pass catcher. Now, that's why we get frustrated when, he doesn't get his head around quick enough, or he doesn't finish off a catch, because, right now that's what you're known for. You're one-dimensional in that aspect. So, if this guy becomes a better route runner and a competent blocker in this offense, Mike Gesicki could be a problem. The problem is when you want to run similar looks, right? And he can't block, you don't want to give away what you're intending to do. And right now, he sticks out like a sore thumb. Now, they've tried to switch that up. I mean, and we saw the result of that, the safety against Bridgewater. So we'll see what happens with Mike Gesicki, but hey, we'll know by next week. Remember, we got to go all the way from 80 down to 53. So we'll know pretty quickly. All right. We'll know pretty quickly. So, man, I think he sticks. If you want my honest opinion, just from what talking to people and everything today, I honestly think he sticks. I really do. So, but let's get some hype going on through today. This is what Tyreek Hill had to say about the Miami Dolphins in 2020 as he was recently on a SiriusXM podcast.
Season upcoming, you know, everybody's excited. You know, everybody's ready to see the speed. You know, just the guys playing for one another, and everybody's just ready, man. So I'm just here to just say, get your popcorn ready. It's going to be a great season for the Miami Dolphins.
Like that a lot. Hey, Coach Weiss?
Yeah.
He's a fan of yours. He knows you would a game plan for him.
It's interesting because when we're talking to your head coach, I was talking to him about the speed of wide receiver, pass catching tight ends, stable running backs, improved offensive line. You know, quarterback taking over a leadership role. I mean, how excited are you about seeing what this offense could do?
Well, the sky's the limit. You know, I've had a chance to, you know, be here since OTAs, and I've had a chance to just watch Tua, you know, sling the football around. And the guy can actually throw the ball, you know, all over the field. You know, and, you know, he has so many weapons, you know, at his disposal, you know, that is crazy. You know, he got Jalen, myself, Raheem, and as you say, he got pass-catching tight ends, you know, and he has, you know, I feel like Mike McDaniel, who's able to create these plays to help utilize us at our strengths and also help Tua, you know, make it easier on him with his read. So, like I say, man, this offense is going to be crazy.
Y'all might wonder why I'm sitting here doing that Birdman rub. And the reason why I'm doing that is this. I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm doing that. The reason why I'm doing that is because I can't wait till the real playbook gets unleashed. I can't wait till we're out of this vanilla stage and the real stuff the goody good start coming out. Woo! Check your pulse. If that, man, I've already liked what I've seen in terms of from a game flow play calling ability. I'm really interested to see what he starts. I mean, you all heard what Safadine said. He said there was a trick play yesterday that he saw that, man, you know, had him going off. So, man, I'm going to tell you this right now. I can't wait to see this playbook. Oh, my God. I'm so excited, man. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited to see this playbook. Y'all don't even know. The football nerd in me is like giddy, like a young kid on Christmas Eve, because we ain't far away, baby. Ooh, September 11th. Here we come, baby. Let's go. Oh, man, I'm hyped. A little too hyped. Nah, you can't ever be too hyped for the beginning of football season. That ain't so. Shout out to the homie Logan. Shout out to the homie Rome Gray. Richard Blackstone coming all the way from Zion. Shout out to everyone in the comments for showing up. I even see. Shout out to the homie Anthony. He asked, could Gesicki be a trade later in the season? Maybe they want to see it playing out during the regular season. If you aren't in a position to make the playoffs, but the reason why I think they won't move him is because this team wants to make a playoff push. So I don't think you see him, like, if he ain't dealt before cut downs, he's taking that roster spot for the whole year, I think, unless he gets hurt, obviously. But I wanted to say shout out to Jim McEwen too. Shout out to everyone who poisoned the Gatorade. Andy says, shout out to everyone. People said someone looking the water boy yesterday looked an awful lot like Brian Flores in one of those new flannel shirts. He's now a part of promoting. So we're investigating. We're investigating. What's up, everyone? I appreciate everyone for showing up. 350 of you in the chat. Love all y'all. So, let's anyone who saw that ad today knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not even going to put it up here. That's ridiculous. I wanted to also, interesting article here from Bleacher Report. They actually gave a win-loss record prediction before we got down to 53. Good for them. The Miami Dolphins, and guys, remember, like I do every year, we're gonna have our little pre-start to the season panel where we do all of our predictions and everything. So all the guys from last year will be back. It'll be the same cast of characters. So the Miami Dolphins begin their quest for 3 straight winning seasons against some of the perennial playoff contenders in the AFC. The Mike McDaniel era gets off and running against the New England Patriots, which have been the gold standard in the AFC East for most of the last 2 decades. Tagovailoa, Tyreek, Hill, and company will get to prove their playoff potential against New England, Baltimore, Buffalo, and Cincinnati. Talk about murderer's row in the first 4 weeks of the 2022 NFL season. Those, well, not the first game. I'm not really worried about New England. We'll handle them. But that first stretch of 4 games and then that last stretch of like 5, tough schedule. The opening stretch seems unfair to the Dolphins, but is only the start of what could be one of the most challenging schedules in the NFL. Miami plays consecutive road games on 3 occasions in 2022, with the final run being a 3-game road trip to San Fran, Los Angeles, and Buffalo in December. If there's any good news on the schedule, the team does have to have close to a full month at home in November in the middle of its slate in one of the lightest runs on paper in the NFL, which is where I've said they need to win out. The Dolphins must take advantage of their easy stretch to remain over 500 for the 3rd straight season. The schedule will challenge them to make the playoffs, but expectations are also changed for the franchise with the arrival of Hill. So, I mean, you look at this here. So, New England, et cetera, et cetera. The stretch I'm talking about where we got to really start running is from the Jets. All the way to Houston, you got to run that. That's 7 games, man. You should come out of that 6-1 at 6-1 at worst 5-2 with this roster. You can't be coming out of that 3-4. That's you got to make that run there. I want a 6-1 run on that right there. You look at that stretch, 6-1, that sets you up. You know how it sets you up? 6-1. Let's go 2-2. All right, let's start out. We start 2-2. All right. Now we're 8-3. All right. Now we got these final 7 games. You could go 3-4 in these final 7 games. If you go 2-2 in the first 4 and you handle your business and go 6-1 there, think about that. You're going to end up 11-6, even if you go 3-4 in your final 7, which they should be better than, right? So, yeah, man, you got to make the run because you should beat the Jets. You should knock the Jets off easily. We should beat New England again, and then we should at least win 1 or 2 of these 4. So, I'm just saying. You look at this, and I'll give my record prediction when we get there, but you look at it, that stretch from the Jets to Houston, right? You win that 6-1, and then from San Fran to the Jets, man, you just hover around 500, you're easily a playoff team. And that's with you also going 500, 2-2 in your first 4. It's all about that stretch. That 7-game stretch is so key. It's so key. So, and I've been saying that since the schedule came out. So, we'll see. You can literally come out 8-3 or 7-4 in your first 11 games. You really should. Let's be honest. And hey, if you want to go better than that, 9-2, knock yourself out. 10-1, let's go. But really, realistically, we should be 8-3 or 7-4 out of the gate with what we have right now and where our expectations are. And then it's all about that last stretch. That last stretch right there. That last 6. Right there. You go 500 there. You come out of that 8-3. in your first 11, you can go 3-3 there, and you're making the playoffs. But really, to be honest with you, if you want me to be real honest with you, the teams that make deep runs and win championships, guess what? They get hot. This is when they start to make their run, right? They've been good, The championship run would be, all right, this first up until Cleveland here, these first 10, we start out 7-3, whatever, right? Maybe 6-4, in the first 10. Then week 12 hits, you run somewhat of the table here. In these final 7, you go 5-2 or 6-1 in these final 7. Look out for us if we make the playoffs. That's all I got to say. Look out for us. If we are running well on this schedule, specifically these final 6 here, look out for us in the playoffs, huh? If we built our record up in those first 11 games with Houston here, and we're sitting at 8-3 or 7-4, and then, we go like 500 and we win 11 games, we get in, I'd be a little bit less confident than, hey, we came out of that first 10 like 6-4, and then those last 7 we went 6-1. I'd be, or like 5-2 because of who's on the schedule. Man, 11 wins that way as opposed to 11 wins the other way, getting the most of them on the first 11 games. Bro, I'm telling you, that would have me hyped. So expectations are much higher for the Dolphins going into the 2022 season than they have been in previous seasons. Tyreek Hill's arrival in a trade with the Kansas City Chiefs was a statement of intent for Miami to contend for postseason berths every season and to potentially be in the mix for the AFC East crown. DraftKings Sportsbook lists its projected win total at 9 wins, which is the second highest among AFC East teams behind division favorite, the Buffalo Bills. Miami, I'm not going to say it. Miami gets an early chance to see where it stacks up against the two powers of the AFC East when it hosts New England in week 1 and welcomes Buffalo to Hard Rock in week 3. I think we win both those games. Like I said all along, I think we go 5-1 in our division and we split with the Bills. I think we win at home. Miami's finished product will not be on display in September, but those two clashes plus a week 2 visit to Baltimore and a week 4 trip to Cincinnati will give us an early look at what the team could bring to the field in 2022. The Dolphins need to win at least 2 of those first 4 contests to have some stability going into the rest of the regular season, but an 0-4 start is possible for the new look team. Most of the results in 2022 will rely on Tagovailoa taking a step up in his game, developing a strong connection with Hill, who was added to a wide receiver room that was led by Jalen Waddle last year. The Week 5 clash with the New York Jets should be a welcome sight for the Dolphins, no matter how the first 4 week goes. The schedule gets a bit easier from that point on until the Week 11 bye. Minnesota and Pittsburgh have to come to South Florida, and then the Dolphins visit Detroit and Chicago. All 4 of those games are winnable, and a 4-game run of victories will be required to desperately if a poor start occurs. Wins over Cleveland and Houston at home on both sides of the bye are imperative so that the Dolphins can approach December and January with the playoffs in mind. Getting to the postseason will not be easy with San Francisco, the Chargers, Buffalo, Green Bay, and New England on the slate from weeks 13 to 17. The Jets will again serve as a welcome sight in week 18, but the Dolphins need to win a few games during that stretch to make the season finale at home against New York meaningful. 3 multi-game road trips, including 4 contests and 5 games away from Hard Rock from week 13 to 17 could hurt the Dolphins, but if they improve offensively, they will have a shot to contend in those matchups. So this is their prediction. Miami feels like a playoff or bust team because of the Hill acquisition. As we saw in the AFC last season, the fight for the wild card positions is tough, and it could get down to the final game of the regular season. Miami can't lock up a playoff berth before December, but it can fall too far behind to be counted out ahead of its 4 road games in December and January. The team must pick up 6 or 7 wins from the stretch that begins in week 5 against the Jets. It's expected to be better than Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, and Houston, and should be in better shape against Minnesota and Pittsburgh at home. The Dolphins need to find wins in the first 4 weeks and in weeks 13 to 17 to make the postseason. They don't have to win all of those contests, but they should aim for a path to 10 or 11 victories to end a playoff drought that sits at 5 years going into the new season. A lot is dependent on how Tagovailoa improves in the pocket and if he can stay healthy. If that happens, the quarterback would allow the Dolphins to take the step up from the fringe of the wild card race to inside the postseason bracket. There are a lot of what ifs facing the Dolphins in 2022, but they can overcome some of those questions with a strong start. The realistic expectation for Miami is to compete for a wild card berth once again, but the fight to get to 10 wins may be tough. And their prediction is that the Dolphins will finish 9-8. So I know it's a little premature, but what are your guys' record predictions right now? Like, where do you see this? Where do you see this ending record wise? I mean, I know we're still, we got to cut 27 players, but from your guys' perspective, what do you guys think we're going to stay at 9 wins? Do you guys see us progressing? So David says 11-6. Russell says 12-5. Robert says 12-5. 11 was the minimum. Rome Gay says 12-5. Hammer says 17-0. Angel says 10-12 wins. Powerhouse says 12-5. EO says 15-2. Hammer says 20-0. Damn. Y'all are feeling it, huh? So we went over the offensive takeaways from the Miami Herald recently. Let's go over their defensive takeaways now that they put it out from training camp, which is over now, sadly. So with the Dolphins training camp now over after Thursday's stomach flu-induced cancellation, here are 10 defensive notes and observations after watching all 15 of the practices on the grounds of Hard Rock Stadium. Though Melvin Ingram has been listed as a starter on the depth chart at outside linebacker opposite Jalen Phillips, I'm not convinced that he's better than Andrew Van Ginkel at this stage of Ingram's career. Both should and likely will play a lot, as will Phillips in what should be a strong 3-man outside linebacker rotation. Van Ginkel is recovering from having his appendix removed and should be back for week 1 or week 2 of the season. While Ingram has had some good moments, Van Ginkel has had a very good camp for preseason. At the very least, their snaps should be comparable. Last season, PFF rated Van Ginkel the 25th best run stopper among all edge players. Ingram was rated 7th during his 9 games in Kansas City, and after his November trade from Pittsburgh for his 6th-round pick. As for pass rushing, Van Ginkel had 4 sacks and 45 hurries and 307 pass rushing snaps. For the Steelers and Chiefs, Ingram had 3 sacks and 42 hurries and 371 pass rushing snaps. So, again, he's trying to show how close they are, and there's not really an edge between the two of them off their performance last year. Van Ginkel ranked 5th among all edge players with 16 quarterback hits, sandwiched between Pro Bowler C.J. Watt and Myles Garrett, but he needs to convert them more to sacks. On Saturday against Las Vegas, he had 2 pressures in 12 pass rush chances. Van Ginkel must also improve in coverage. Last season, he allowed 22 of 26 passes in coverage area to be caught for 225 yards and a touchdown, a 115.5 passer rating against. Ingram, during his stint with the Chiefs, permitted a 105 passer rating, 5 completions and 5 targets for 47 yards. Both are clearly better suited to rush the quarterback than to drop into coverage. Ginkel played 71% of the Dolphins' defensive snaps last season, up from 46% his first 2 seasons, and that could drop into the 50s this season. Though Adam Butler, who was released, is 6'5", 295 pounds, and Ingram is 6'2", 250. It wouldn't be surprising if Ingram or Phillips take some of Butler's snaps on pass rushing downs, even though they play different positions. I would like to see defensive coordinator Josh Boyer use Ingram, Phillips, and Van Ginkel together in some third down packages. Phillips confirmed he has rushed up the middle some in this camp, much as Butler did last season. With Butler gone, it would also make sense to play Zach Seiler more. He's as productive per snap as any front 7 defender on the team and has been excellent throughout camp. Seiler had last season played 46% of the Dolphins' defensive snaps, down from 52 in 2020. He needs to be in the 52 to 60% range. PFF calls Sadler the Dolphins' most underrated player and ranked him in the top 10 of all interior defensive linemen last season. He makes a notable play or two in every practice. Taron Armstead predicts Christian Wilkins will have a breakout season statistically, and he will if his play in camp is a harbinger of the coming months. In some ways, Wilkins already broke out last season. With an 89 tackle season, Wilkins took the step from decent defensive lineman to a good one. He had 4.5 sacks, up from combined 3.5 in his first 2 years, and had 10 tackles for a loss, up from 7 his first 2 seasons. If he becomes a 7-sack, 15 tackle for a loss player, you're talking about a huge contract as a free agent in 2024. The Dolphins exercise his $10.3 million 50-year option for 2023. Byron Jones isn't ready for the opener. Nick Needham is clearly the best option to start opposite Xavier Howard, but is Needham as good on the boundary as he is in the slot? That's unclear. Last season, he played only 29 boundary pass coverage snaps and had a very good 73.4 passer rating against. He played 287 coverage snaps in the slot and had an 83.8 passer rating against per PFF. He's a better number 3 boundary option than Noah Igbinoghene. So is Keon Crossan. Needham and Crossan are both day-to-day with undisclosed injuries. Igbinoghene was badly beaten on 2 crossing route on Las Vegas his first drive, but for all the unfortunate plays in camp, there's sometimes a good one, like a great breakup of a pass from Tagovailoa to Tyreek last week. You still see the flashes of athleticism that suggests he can be salvaged, even though he might be the number 5 corner behind Crossan. Igbinoghene allowed 5 completions and 7 targets for 65 yards last season. That's not nearly a big enough sample size to make a final judgment. He permitted all 3 targets against him on Saturday to be caught for 34 yards. Perhaps if he's awful on Saturday, he could be in jeopardy, but it feels a tad premature to give up on a physically gifted first-round corner after just 365 career defensive snaps. Kadir Kahu again plays if he plays well on Saturday, or a good corner becomes available on waivers in the next 10 days. If Igbinoghene struggles this week, and if Kahu, the promising Texas A&M commerce rookie, follows up the Las Vegas preseason game with a more impressive work against the Eagles on Saturday, then an interesting decision awaits the Dolphins. And a strong case could be made to keep Kahu, who should be on the practice squad at the very least if he's not on the 53. His ball skills portend well for his future. He has a chance to become a rotational NFL corner. Igbinoghene averaged a strong 27.3 yards on 44 kickoff returns at Auburn with 2 touchdowns, but only has had a chance to return 4 kicks as a Dolphin, none in 2021 and none this preseason. To me, not giving him a chance on returns is a curious decision. I've been telling y'all, Danny Crossman doesn't even seem to like him. Javon Holland often has been the Dolphins' best defender in training camp, and Xavier Howard might be number 2. But Duke Riley and Siler Emmanuel Ogben-Phillips belong in any conversation of defensive camp standouts. I told y'all, I've loved Duke Riley this preseason. He's been great. Riley played just 21% of Miami snaps last season, down from 64% with Philadelphia in 2020. But his speed and instincts are assets, and he's clearly better equipped to help now than Channing Tindall, who has made a couple of flash plays in camp and graded out well by PFF on Saturday. The toughest decision, in my view, backup edge players. You could flip a coin among Hodge, Gustin, Scarlett, and Cameron Good. Behind linebackers Phillips, Ingram, and Van Ginkel. Well, Good's going to have the track because they drafted him. Perhaps 2 make it. Hodge and Gustin have had good camps. Both have a handful of sacks. Good has flashed more than a typical 7th rounder. Scarlett missed the past 12 days with an injury, but has had a solid career. The sense here is that Gustin has made the strongest case. But of the 4, Scarlett is the only one with guaranteed money, which is $450,000 of his $1 million salary. That complicates matters. The number 4 safety decision isn't easy either. Elijah Campbell has displayed good ball skills and might have more defensive upside than Clayton Fejedelem. Fejedelem restructured his contract, and $1 million of his $1.7 million is guaranteed, compared with none of Campbell's $895,000. After picking up passes on constructive days midway through camp, Oregon rookie Rowan McKinley has had a quiet past 2 weeks and looks bound for the practice squad. Even though Benito Jones and Ben Stille have had good camps, John Jenkins seems the safest option at backup nose tackle behind Raekwon Davis, unless someone clearly becomes better becomes available on waivers. None of Jenkins' $1.1 million is guaranteed, but he's still a valuable asset for the nose tackle position he can play. He's difficult to move. But Stille, who had a sack on Saturday, has been good enough to be discussed for an option for the 53 roster. He has an outside chance. The practice squad is more likely for him. There seems to be a comfort level in Jenkins' experience. The Dolphins know what they're getting if he needs to fill in for Davis. His mentality and physicality have been on another level, said defensive line coach Austin Clark. He's a strong, powerful guy. His footwork has been the biggest thing. Weight loss for sure has helped. Davis is lighter than he was a year ago and has had a solid camp. The question is whether he can take the step Wilkins did last season. Though he frequently takes on double teams, it's surprising that Raekwon Davis has managed only 2 tackles for loss and half a sack in 964 defensive snaps. Coaches have challenged him to improve in that area. It is actually because, Raekwon is so talented. He offers so much. He's just so super talented. It's actually shocking that we haven't got more out of him. But it's going to happen. He'll take a step forward, I think, this year for sure. For sure. And finally, guys, if you didn't see it yesterday, there's a really good article I wanted to go over with you guys from the Ringer yesterday, from Katie Baker, and it's called "The Proving Ground of Tua Tagovailoa." And it said, a couple of days after Mike McDaniel was hired to be the 14th head coach of the Miami Dolphins, he FaceTimed his new quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, from an airplane to say hello. We're going to have an extensive professional relationship, my man, McDaniel said by the way of introduction. McDaniel, now 39, has been working in football for 16 seasons, climbing from Denver Broncos intern to San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator to now his first NFL head coaching gig. I'm elated, bro, he went on. It's an unbelievable opportunity for me that I do not plan on wasting in the slightest. I promise you that I'm all in. You're going to get the best out of me that you could possibly get. McDaniel had already been thinking about how he might get the best out of Tagovailoa too. He watched tape after tape of the former Alabama quarterback and number 5 draft pick in 2020, throw after throw. I heard all these conflicting things, said McDaniel, speaking with the Ringer one recent Saturday morning before Dolphins training camp session. So had most NFL fans. The typical knocks on Tagovailoa over his first 2 seasons were well known, that he couldn't reliably hurl the long ball, that his passing stats were middling at best, and that he lagged behind contemporaries like Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. Well, that's what the casuals said. The people who watched the film said he just needs to, he can read all 3 levels, he can make all the throws. He just needs to make them consistently and do it consistently. And he needs to kill the term. He needs to be better if he's going to determine where the ball goes pre-snap. He needs to be better at it. And in general, he needs to rein in the predetermining where the ball goes pre-snap because he's missed some key looks off of it. But then when I watched McDaniel said, I was like, wow, this guy is really very accurate. And I think that he has a pretty cool feel for the game at the quarterback position relative to all quarterbacks. As McDaniel began interacting with Tagovailoa in person rather than observing him on screen, the coach's perception of this would-be marquee player deepened and widened. Something that struck McDaniel was that while the 24-year-old's physical skills were evident and obvious, so were some of his psyche's constraints. When I got around him, McDaniel says, there became more and more evidence that there were a lot of things going on in his mind that were projected from past experiences that he didn't need to worry about. What kind of past experiences? Per Tagovailoa's own recounting, basically all of them. Early this past June during minicamp, the quarterback remarked to reporters that I've never been around a coach like this who's just extremely positive. Growing up, my dad's always been hard on me. My school coach has been hard on me. Alabama coach Nick Saban has been hard on me. And all the coaches that I've had prior, they've all been hard on me. Tagovailoa has repeatedly thrived under this sort of pressure, rising to every challenge from childhood to a college national championship. But the reward for doing so has been more pressure still, which is how now he finds himself facing abruptly high stakes. It's just his 3rd season as Miami's quarterback. Lived up to his own historically on honor standards, or risking going from generational talent to what might have been bust. Of course, that's not how his new head coach wants him to think. Since being named Dolphins head coach, McDaniel has implemented not only an idiosyncratic playbook. Oh, sorry, my bad. An idiosyncratic playbook, but also his intuitive interpersonal approach. And as McDaniel got to know Tagovailoa, I thought he was just, to be honest, a little hard on himself unnecessarily for things he didn't need to be hard on. Old habits die hard. For Tagovailoa, working with a new play caller who is as serene as he is cerebral has been an adjustment. Mike is always trying to encourage you and trying to keep you going. So for me, it's a little backward, Tagovailoa told reporters at minicamp. I'm used to being hard on myself and the coach getting hard on me too. Whereas I'm getting hard on myself and he's trying to tell me, hey, it's going to be okay. We're only in May. We're only in June. Now through September, though September is coming, and Miami has spent the summer fitfully attempting to outfit its quarterback with the right tools for a fresh start. An encouraging rookie head coach, an all-pro receiver, a revamped offensive line. Might that be enough to help Tagovailoa rise above the injuries, incompletions, and institutional chaos of his short professional career? Or will it feel more like Groundhog Day as Tagovailoa drops back to contemplate the unfolding possibilities of his crucial season? All he can do is hope that the new route will lead him the right way. As a kid growing up in Hawaii, Tagovailoa played lefty not because he was a lefty, but because his father implored him to become one. As a highly touted teenage true freshman backup quarterback at Alabama, Tagovailoa pulled off something that almost sounds fake. Thrown abruptly into a national championship game at halftime, he threw 3 touchdown passes, one of which tied the game late in the fourth quarter, and another that won his team the title. Total king shit. In the aftermath of that win, though, he worked so hard to live the lessons that had always been drilled into him. Stay humble, act like you've been there before. That he never got to abandon all decorum and simply rule. I think I was probably the only one not celebrating as much as I probably should have. He told the Fish Tank podcast this spring about the game, an assessment born out of his footage. After that win and the adulation that went along with it, things got trickier for Tagovailoa. Students' parents would show up to Alabama lecture halls hoping to get a pic with him. His team returned to the national championship the following year but lost. His junior season, he was sidelined with injuries that would require hip surgery and ultimately affect his draft status. It didn't really help during the early days of COVID-19. Teams weren't able to medically assess his recovery in person. The most efficient collegiate passer of all time was once expected to go first in the NFL draft. Instead, Tagovailoa went to number 5 to the Dolphins, a team that last won a playoff game in Y2K and had started 6 different quarterbacks in the preceding 5 seasons. The once iconic franchise hoped Tagovailoa would recapture that old rookie magic. In his first 2 seasons, Tagovailoa went 13-8 in games he started. Injured his thumb and his rib. Endured rumors in the fall of 2021 that the team was hoping to trade for Deshaun Watson. A transaction that yielded the grim quote from him, "I don't not feel wanted." And worked with a coach, Brian Flores, who was, you guessed it, hard on him. He had flashes of excellence with best in-league short game accuracy and ability to make unusually quick decisions. But he also has taken a lot of shit, much of it all well beyond his control. During his rookie season, the Dolphins' yo-yo management of Tagovailoa and Ryan Fitzpatrick made for an unpleasant, chaotic welcome. In his second year, Tua took snaps behind one of the NFL's least effective offensive lines. This May, he suffered the rare indignity of the secondary self-own when the Dolphins team account tweeted out a video of him underthrowing a receiver with a rocket emoji as a caption. A poor T-arm rep had to explain all of this to him at the time, assuming he'd be asked about its implications by the media. Earlier this month, training camp was interrupted by the news that team owner Stephen Ross was being fined and suspended for his role in tampering with quarterback Tom Brady and head coach Sean Payton. And the team would then be docked a draft pick. How many ways can this organization undermine Tua, a Miami sports radio show host on the Joe Rose Show, asked the next morning with expectations and with exasperation and maybe even a little pity? Still, South Florida is well positioned to appreciate the clean slate of each sunrise. And as everything barrels towards a new steamy, muggy football season, August zooming past July, merging without signaling just like a true local, things in Miami Gardens are in the midst of a reset with Tagovailoa in the center. During the offseason, the Dolphins traded for a speedy new Super Bowl winning receiver, albeit one with an ugly past, in Tyreek Hill. They also picked up some people chosen specifically for their ability to support the starting quarterback, like offensive lineman Taron Armstead and journeyman gunslinger Teddy Bridgewater. The hiring of McDaniel is offensive scheme rich with play action and streaking, sweeping, lopsided formations suggested a new approach to finding Tagovailoa's sweet spots. And while McDaniel retained the bulk of the defensive coaching staff from the Flores era, he brought in some new personnel across the line of scrimmage, including quarterbacks coach and Darrell Bevell, who helped discover Russell Wilson back in the day. I know the questions keep coming up about him throwing the deep ball, Bevell told reporters of Tagovailoa. And, from what I had seen up to that point, there's not going to be any issues with the throws that he's going to be asked to make. The guy newly in charge of asking for making the throws is McDaniel, the latest branch of the Shanahan and son Sean McVay coaching tree to come into full bloom. McDaniel's origin story involves riding his bike to Denver's Bronco training camp as an NFL-obsessed child. His initial big break, becoming a Broncos ball boy, hinged in his telling on a lost and found, pretty obnoxious turquoise Charlotte Hornets hat. He walked onto the Yale football team. He mostly watched from the sideline. His chill millennial humor is so deadpan and finely tuned that when Rich Eisen challenged him to scatter some specific cliches into a future press conference as an inside joke, he did so almost immediately and effortlessly, all in one sentence at the NFL Combine. He was childhood friends with comedian Dan Sauter, and he also used to coach Denzel Washington's son, John David, which means he knows people on both Billions and Ballers somehow. When reporters wished him a good morning at his 9:45 a.m. presser during training camp, he corrected them, "Good afternoon." His innovative and occasionally downright slapstick bag of X's and O tricks have made some fun advancements in the sport. He's the kind of guy that leaves people asking, who is that? One of those people was Dolphins wide receiver coach Wes Welker, a 5-time Pro Bowler who played in the NFL for more than a decade before transitioning to coaching in 2017. Despite having such a resume and not having played for 6 seasons under having played for 6 seasons under Bill Belichick, when Welker began working with McDaniel, he saw strategies that he had never encountered before. I remember him interviewing me, Welker recalled, of their first meeting in San Francisco. I believe his hair was super long, so I was like, who is this guy? He quickly found out McDaniel became something of a coaching mentor for Welker, showing him how he liked to splice together game film, among other things. You get what you emphasize, McDaniel used to tell him. You see everything, said Welker of McDaniel's videos. It's telling a story, and you're like, wow, that was like really cool. I've never had a coach do something like that, and I mean, I was in the league for 12 years. Now, Welker said that kind of communication has become more second nature to him. I know exactly the clip that I need to show the guys whenever they screw something up, he said, smiling but serious. According to several players, too, Welker often slips in footage of himself back in the day. He makes it full circle, especially if you mess it up, said Jalen Waddle. He shows you a play that you get the same look from the defense, kind of how it's supposed to be. So he paints a picture in your mind so the next time you go out there, you know what to expect and how you're going to treat it in a way that it sounds like the NFL version of the old tried and true criticism sandwich. My expectations for myself, McDaniel tells me, is that I'm the best coach that the players have had, fully knowing that's really hard to do and that they've probably been coached by really good coaches, which is why he seeks his edge in the editing room. The idea is that maybe I can gain their attention more, he says. Maybe I can connect with them more. Historically, people have ADD, especially NFL football players. Well, can I keep their attention? It's like just understanding cognitive retention, McDaniel said. People's ability to retain information is maximized when it's told through a story. And not only can he communicate something to a player directly, he can showcase what he wants to convey to the rest of the team too, which was something he was made sure to do when it comes to Tagovailoa. Not just show him the good stuff, McDaniel says, but really take him and show other players what he was doing on a certain play so that they would understand what they were seeing and how good it was. When Tua is doing stuff really well, it doesn't look like he's trying that hard, which is the common denominator with people doing great stuff. So then it became showing the team So that is opposed to me just being confident. I knew the players needed to see what I saw as well. You get what you emphasize after all. This summer, not only have Tagovailoa's teammates seen something in him, they've said something too. In some cases, a lot of somethings. The first time Hill got together with his new quarterback following his trade from Kansas City, he tried to remain understated to match Tagovailoa's energy. I was like, yeah, I'll play it cool, Hill tells the Ringer following a recent practice, hopping from one foot to the other to keep his muscles from cramping. If you look at it in all honesty, the quarterback is the face of the franchise. Maybe I'm just here to do what I'm supposed to do and make Tua look good, huh? To Hill, that meant both on the field and in the media. And it didn't take long before he began publicly and conspicuously boosting his new teammate. Tua actually has probably one of the prettiest balls I've ever caught in my life, Hill told reporters in May. It's very catchable. He called Tua Tagovailoa the most accurate quarterback in the NFL, implicitly dissing Hill's former teammate Patrick Mahomes in the process. Last week, Hill told reporters that Dolphins quarterback was bringing a little more swag to the game. Trent Sherfield, the Dolphins wide receiver, said that my favorite thing about working with Tua is his response to adversity. Shoot, he faced adversity even in Alabama, so this is nothing new to him. Come to think of it, even Tua's most celebrated college moment, that national championship winning touchdown, came one play after a nerve-wracking sack. Chatting after a recent training camp practice, backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater tells the Ringer that he's enjoying getting to know Tagovailoa. You know, he has a chip on his shoulder that I love about him, Bridgewater says. That swagger you want to see. He's becoming an alpha. Well, kind of, sort of. NFL training camp routinely comprise a whole lot of false peak, mirages, and collective hallucinations in which everyone involved is in the best shape of their lives and coming out of the shells and really hitting their strides. And so, in something of a time-honored tradition, it ranged from mildly comedic to truly compelling over the course of a week of camp to compare the Tagovailoa of past lore with the man right here himself. On one hand, to hear teammates tell it, he has a skip in his step and has started talking shit. On the other, when Tagovailoa did anything from training camp drills to media sessions, he came across less like a braggadocious pro athlete and more like a brilliant, self-conscious Project Runaway or Great British Bake Off contestant. Standing before the judges, waiting for that kind of critique begets real inspiration, defensive and earnest all at once. During early training camp practices, the predominant energy in the stands every time Tagovailoa touched the ball was one of shoulder rubbing support, of almost prayerful pleading. One of the most satisfying spectacles came on the first day that camp was open to fans. Not only did Hill pull off a backflip, he also hauled in a 55-yard bomb from Tagovailoa that racked up some 3 million views when the video hit social media. Another came about a week later when the three quarterbacks on the roster took turns trying to throw the ball from midfield into a small net in the end zone. Tagovailoa hit on his first try, and the crowd erupted like it was Sunday in December. Bridgewater put one arm around his teammate and pumped the other one in the air as everyone chanted to his names. It was Bridgewater's third season, the same one Tagovailoa is just about to begin, that he suffered that catastrophic knee injury that changed the trajectory of his career. Given the position that we play in, there is no guarantees about the future, Bridgewater says. I don't know if I can say this or not, but sometimes you just have to drop your balls, you know? He doesn't mean fumbling. You see it now. He's letting them hang. Speaking of hanging, back in June, Hill invited Tagovailoa onto his podcast called It Needed to Be Said, where he said many things indeed, including a pep talk for all the ages. You got to obviously follow coach's lead and follow your lead, he said to a bashful Tagovailoa. We got to let the naysayers do their talking and motivate us. And then when we just ball on Sundays, man, you feel me? Everything else will take care of everything else. Big dog, I promise you, because I believe in you and I know everybody else believes in you, dog. And I'm saying that not only as your teammate, I'm saying that as your brother, bro, because you are that deal, bro. And if you believe that you're the deal, the sky's the limit for you, big dog. I promise you. Hill's motivational speech stood out not because it rang differently from the types of things that could be heard throughout Dolphins training camp, because it fit right in. After all, this is an organization where players define having a cohesive unit as being able to come together, really show our love for another, running after the ball, all of that, as Jalen Phillips put it to the media. Anthony Campanelli, a linebackers coach, tells the Ringer that his players' mindsets revolve around making the people you love proud every day. He doesn't stop there either. If you're brought in and not embarrassed about honestly loving each other and talking about that, he says, you're going to get the best version of yourselves. It's not about the language you typically expect to hear quite so much in a professional football setting. But Sherfield, who played for McDaniel previously in San Francisco, told reporters that fostering this sort of environment had noticeable benefits. I think you get a little bit more vulnerability from the players, the receiver said. When I say that, I mean the players are able to go to Mike because Mike's door is always open. The way McDaniel sees it, embracing vulnerability on an organizational level can be an advantage. People run away from vulnerability, he says, particularly in the world. They perceive it as being a bad thing or a weakness. And ironically, I see it completely opposite. I see it as a strength. Acknowledging that you want, acknowledging that something's hard to do, maybe low percentage to do, trying to do something special. Entering vulnerability needed to carry the implication of being a pushover or giving everyone whatever they ask for. Quite the opposite. Done correctly, it means committing to the pursuit of a big answer without shying away from the difficult questions. In 2017, McDaniel spoke with USA Today about a crucial turning point in his career. The time of his colleagues on the Atlanta Falcons suggested that he might have a destructive relationship with alcohol and then supported him as he sought treatment. For the first time in my life, McDaniel remarked then, I had men stand behind me and say, hey, you're not alone, dude. 5 years later, he is now a head coach with the ability to shape not only his own path, but his players. And in life's journey, some of the things that you perceive to be the worst things to happen to you are the best, he tells the Ringer. Without being vulnerable, I don't see how you can achieve anything other than average. And it can be relative, but I think it's a sign of strength to sit here and say, no, I want this. I want to go after it. This kind of attitude has dovetailed with Tagovailoa's evolving understanding of his own foundational famili- familial pursuit, being ever so humble. On Hill's podcast, too, pointed out that he didn't want people to ever mistake his humility for a lack of confidence or competitiveness. I just don't want people to get the misconception that being humble is being the nice guy, he explained. I've always had it inside. I'd be humble, but at the same time, in my mind, you wouldn't know that I'm out there to still do what I want to do. Compete, obviously, throw a lot of touchdowns, and a lot of other things. Being a little more vocal with it has been something that just started. Of course, it's all just talk until the season gets underway. For the team and for Tua. Last Saturday, the quarterback was solid in his preseason debut, completing 6 of 8 passes over the course of 2 drives in an appearance that was pleasantly uneventful. But once the real games begin, all it will take to segue from the sky's the limit for you, big dog, to does he have that dog in him is another throw here and a miscommunication there. And looming all season will be the prospect of Miami's toughest, coldest test, December and January, divisional games in Buffalo and in New England. Oh my. But for now, the team continues to bask in the warm hug of Florida, where one quickly realizes there are 2 different ways to experience the dawn of a new day. You can plan ahead, wake up super early, and position yourself in just the right spot for the sunrise, a model of initiative and preparation. Or you can stubbornly wait up all night, lingering just a little bit longer and a little bit longer still, fighting the urge to close your eyes until at last the darkness starts to fade. Either way, that first glow feels hard won. Either way, you wish others could see what you say. You act like you've been there before, sure, but where's the beauty in that? So I thought that was really interesting for everyone. A deep dive kind of into everything going on behind the scenes and the camaraderie being built between the team, obviously from the coaching staff down to the players. So I thought that was a really well written article by Katie Baker. You know, again, 6 for 8 in the preseason, Skylar balling on the preseason. None of that matters till the game matters. And the meaningful games, they're only a few weeks away. Check your pulse, baby. Check your pulse. Here's the deal, guys. I'm going to be back on Saturday. They will be against the Philadelphia Eagles, live reaction. The game starts at 7. I'll be live before the game starts. And as always, I'll open up the show to you guys, if we have enough time prior to kickoff, at halftime, and then as well after the game. All right. So it'll be the last time we do this format. So it's going to be a special time, So listen, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope all of you stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. And I will see y'all on Saturday. If something breaks tomorrow, I'll figure out a way to go live and we'll do something. So everyone have a absolutely fantastic evening. I will see all of y'all on Saturday. You already know what time it is. Fins up, baby. All day, every day.